Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
Hidden high in the rugged mountains of Ethiopia, beneath centuries of cultural reverence and religious mystery, lies a manuscript known only to a few outside the ancient Orthodox Christian world. This text, sometimes whispered about in scholarly corners and ecclesiastical circles, is referred to as the Kebra Nagast, the glory of the kings. But this is not just a royal chronicle. It is a profound narrative of divine right, imperial legacy, and theological controversy that connects the Solomonic dynasty of Ethiopia with ancient Israel and presents a version of Christian history that is radically different from the Western canon. What makes the Kebra Nagast particularly compelling is not merely its claim that the rulers of Ethiopia descended directly from King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, but its broader implication that the true Ark of the Covenant, the sacred relic of Hebrew tradition said to house the Ten Commandments, was transported to Ethiopia millennia ago, where it remains to this day. This powerful assertion has not only shaped Ethiopian identity, but also raised the eyebrows of clerics and historians in Rome and beyond. For centuries, the Vatican, guardian of Orthodox Christian doctrine, has maintained a careful silence about the Kebra Nagast, rarely acknowledging its existence, let alone its implications. The origins of the Kebra Nagast are as complex as the history of Ethiopia itself. Compiled in the 14th century in the ancient Guizi language, the text draws upon earlier traditions and oral accounts dating back many hundreds of years. Its narrative describes how Queen Makeda of Sheba journeyed to Jerusalem to meet King Solomon, how she bore him a son named Menelik, and how this son, upon reaching adulthood, traveled to visit his father. In a divine twist of fate, Menelik returned to Ethiopia with a retinue of Israelite nobles, and the Ark of the Covenant, taken with the silent approval of heaven itself. The idea that the Ark was divinely relocated to Ethiopia and remains guarded in the ancient city of Axum has endured not merely as myth but as a theological pillar for Ethiopian Christians. The Church of St. Mary of Zion, where the Ark is said to be housed, is guarded by a single monk who is entrusted with it lifelong protection and who never leaves the church grounds. No outsider is permitted to view the Ark, a fact which continues to fuel both belief and skepticism. From the perspective of Rome, however, the Kebra Nagast introduces significant doctrinal challenges. The claim of an alternate lineage of divine kingship, independent of European Christendom, and the suggestion that the holiest artifact of Judeo-Christian tradition lies far outside Vatican control presents a theological riddle and a threat to papal supremacy. In the early modern period, Catholic missionaries in Ethiopia were ordered to suppress local traditions that diverged from Roman orthodoxy. The Jesuit Pedro Paez, who visited Ethiopia in the 17th century, made detailed records of the beliefs surrounding the Ark and the Solomonic dynasty, but his findings were quietly archived, and his writings seldom saw light outside specialist academia. Throughout the colonial and post-colonial eras, the Kebra Nagast was dismissed by many Western scholars as apocryphal or legendary, despite its central place in Ethiopian national consciousness. And yet, certain tantalizing archaeological and historical clues continue to lend credence to its claims. For example, inscriptions in South Arabian script, discovered in Ethiopia and Eritrea, suggest deep ancient ties between the Horn of Africa and the Semitic cultures of the Middle East. Similarly, the presence of Jewish communities, such as the Beta Israel, in Ethiopia long before modern diasporas, supports the notion of ancient Hebraic influence. Even more intriguing are the whispered stories of European expeditions, some allegedly Vatican-sponsored, that attempted to locate and verify the Ark in Axum, only to be rebuffed by the zealous guardians of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The Vatican officially neither confirms nor denies these accounts. But the geopolitical and religious implications of such a discovery, if proven true, are almost unthinkable. For the Roman Church, which rests on centuries of theological primacy, the acknowledgement of an independent, parallel Christian tradition with equal claims to sacred relics and divine authority could unravel deeply entrenched hierarchies. Today, as religious scholars revisit long-neglected texts and re-examine the broader scope of Christian history, the Kebra Nagast has begun to emerge from obscurity. Translations and commentaries have brought the work to a new global audience, sparking debates about authenticity, faith, and the ownership of history. Yet, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church remains firm in its stewardship. For them, the Kebra Nagast is not a curiosity, but a living testament to their divine legacy, a sacred history that predates colonial conquest and Vatican oversight. The story of the Kebra Nagast is, in many ways, the story of Africa's resistance to cultural erasure. It is the chronicle of a civilization that has stood at the crossroads of empires yet maintained its spiritual sovereignty. It is a reminder that history, like faith, is often contested terrain, and that the truths we inherit are sometimes those most fiercely guarded from the pages of forgotten books.